Hello everybody, welcome to the Whiskey Dictionary. I'm Bill, and today we're going to be talking about Aultmore of the Foggy Moss. This is a 12-year-old Speyside whiskey that you probably haven't heard of. However, it's been around for about 100 years. Usually it's used as a blend as part of Dewar's. Now, Dewar's isn't one that I would necessarily point to and say that's a fantastic whiskey, but that doesn't mean that this isn't. So let's talk about this. We're going to go a little bit into the history, we'll do some nosing and the tasting, and we'll give it our overall rating. So let's get into it. Aultmore Distillery was founded in 1895 by a guy named Alexander Edwards. Now, Alex might not be a name that you know, but he's kind of a whiskey legend. I actually wasn't that familiar with him either. So I looked him up, and the dude founded 4 different distilleries, and he had something to do with many more, but he also ran a 5th distillery. He founded a village. He built a hotel. Like, he did a bunch of stuff, and yet none of us know his name. He was involved with Ben Rinnes and Craig Ellicky as well, so he definitely knew his things about whiskey. The name Aultmore comes from the Gaelic Ant Aultmore, meaning big burn, referring to the distillery's water source, the Auchendarran burn, which has clean and soft water perfect for making scotch. Throughout the early 1900s, the Aultmore was not publicly known, but really well known among distillers, and a lot of them wanted it for their blends. However, Dewar's got their hands on it, and they ended up using it for their blend. However, in 2014, after changing hands a few times, Bacardi got their hands on the Aultmore, and they ended up releasing it as a single malt scotch, and people loved it. So here I am to review it. One thing to know about this bottle is I actually kept it on hand a little bit too long, and not to the detriment of the bottle or the whiskey itself, but more the price, right? So when I bought this, it was about $60. I just looked this up, and it's about $80, and the closest place I could find it is in Michigan. So living here in Massachusetts, that's going to be a little tough of a ride for me. But just about the whiskey itself, because it might be in your area, so let's just assume. This is 46% ABV. It is made using refill American oak casks. It has no chill filtration, it has no color adding, and I've already talked about the price. So let's get into the nose and the taste and see if this would be worth a trip to Michigan. On the nose. I will say this is the type of nose profile, like if I'm not having sherried scotch, if I'm having scotch, this is what I like. Actually, I'm saying this out loud and realizing I sure do like sherry scotch. I like peated scotch. I like Highland scotch. I like everything. I'm not picky, I suppose. I guess I like what I like. When I smell this, though, this is a really nice, just light, clean apple, pear, lemon, general citrus, like honey, hay, grass, like just reminds me of summer. Think like the Orchard House a little bit. Very similar in the nose to that. Maybe a little less sweet than Orchard House, but it's just a very pleasant nose. Let's go ahead and have a taste. Cheers. What's nice about that taste is it's very similar to what you got on the nose, so it's easy, right? So apple, pear, honey, for sure. A little bit malty, not terrible. Like, malt is good. I don't want to say terrible, but like it's not very strong malt. It's much more on the crisper side. Little vanilla and a little bit of creaminess to it. Like the oil is really well balanced there. Everything about this is very pleasant. It would go well with an ice cube. Like I actually think this would be a really good summertime whiskey. I could see this just being cold and very pleasant too. Tastes great this way. I'm not trying to read between the lines, kind of add some ice because it's not great. Like it's great, but also it would be good cold. So that's something to think about. Overall, let's just kind of lay this out here. I guess I'll put this out here. I don't love that the price went up considerably. It went up 33%. That's a lot. When I think about what I would buy instead of this, there's 3 things that come to mind. This Glenlivet 12 would be one of them. Glenfiddich 12, and while I was doing this review, I kind of just realized that the Orchard House would be a good replacement for this as well. So all 3 of those would be great, and the price difference on that is huge, right? Orchard House is like $45. But if we're talking about just this one, if you wanted to buy this, you would be very pleased with this. I don't think you would regret spending the money. I also think this would potentially go very quickly. I could see myself having like 4 of these. So bear that in mind. If I were to give this a rating, which obviously I will, I'm going to just assume that you can find this, because that's going to really affect it if I don't assume that. So assuming this is in your area, this is a tough one. I would want to give it a try at rather than a buy it because I just don't know that the value is there for what you're paying more. I tell you what, let's do this. Let's give it a try it. I'm sometimes a little too lenient because I just love whiskey. I'm going to give this a try it because I do think that it doesn't do anything overly special for the price point, and I don't think it's a value for the money. But if you have this, you're going to be very happy to have it. I realize that might be a little bit of a cop-out, but it's not worth a buy it. Like, I won't go buy this again. I'll be happy to have every drop of it, though. So, I don't know. I guess I'll give it a try it. All right, anyway, thank you very much for joining me here on the Whiskey Dictionary. I hope you have a great rest of your night. Cheers.